Up front, I just want to say, over the years, if you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. Your life is your kid. And it becomes your grandkid. And I get to live my life over and over through them. Their successes, failures, whatever. We get the opportunity to be there. The thing that hurts the most in this for me is we couldn't be there. So I'm going to give you a few more, hopefully, lighthearted stories about Phil that tells you a little bit about Phil. And as Rebecca said, that we had this outpouring of love and support. And it's always wonderful for a parent to hear how wonderful their child is. So thank you for that. But as his mom mentioned, Phil came into the world fairly quickly. So he did. Literally, within 20 minutes, I got to the hospital and he was born. That wasn't the same with his brothers who extended and extended and extended. They weren't coming out. They were ready to stay. And so Phillip was pretty painless for her too, because it happened so fast. I think they gave her that epidural and she had the baby before it actually kicked in, so it took longer for recovery. But shortly thereafter, through no fault of his own, Phillip had his back. He got colic. For 3 solid months, I mean to the T, to the day, Phil cried and couldn't get rest. And if Phil didn't get rest, guess what? I would go to work. She would have him all day, rocking, walking, trying to soothe him. As soon as I'd walk in the door, here, take it. He's yours. And she would go try to get some sleep or rest. Or just to cook us something to eat, I guess. So that's what she would do, and it happened. And exactly at 3 months, he quit. And some of you have ever watched Forrest Gump. Remember when he ran, and all of a sudden he just stopped, and he was done? And everybody, whoa, wait a minute. He was just done. And from that point on, from a physical standpoint, Phil never really gave us any issues. He didn't cry a lot. He didn't cause us that much problems at all, ever. Those 3 months, but he didn't have anything to do with it, but it was interesting. But now Phil was the hardest kid to discipline. I could discipline the other two because they actually cared about some of their stuff. Stephen used to say to people, I didn't see my toys but about half of my childhood, because most of it was packed away in Mom and Daddy's closet for punishment. But Phil, he'd do something, he wouldn't do something he was supposed to have done, and I'd call him in and I said, look, you're not going to go out and play with your buddies. He said, okay. And I said, go to your room, no TV. Okay. How do you discipline? I'm going to take your stuff, bring it in here. He'd bring it in and hand it to me. Okay. I got frustrated. I didn't know how to discipline my kid because it just didn't bother him. That stuff or things, I guess it was going to pass. And he would just be okay. We would go out and play. One of the sad portions, or one of the things that enlightened me, I would come home from work, and one of the greatest joys is I was going to get to go home and get to play with my sons. And we'd try to teach them how to play ball and everything, and we'd go out and hit fly balls or whatever. And Steve would be underneath and catching them. I'd, hit one high to the field, and he'd be moving like this. I said, well, just get under it, okay? And hit up there. I said, Phil, no, get under the ball and let it just drop into your glove, just like a basket. Just let it drop in. And we would do that several times. I didn't know. One day we were in our back room and we had it set up like a game room, and we had a couch and a TV, and Stephen and I were playing a basketball game, a video game, and Phil said, we was leaning on every now and again he'd say, "What's the score?" So I tell him the score. He did it 2 or 3 times. I said, "Phillip, it's right there on the screen. Read it." And he got quiet. And it hit me. And I said, "Read to me what's on that screen." And he couldn't. He couldn't see it. So he ended up with glasses. And Phillip, before it was over, he had some thick glasses. And he couldn't see. As soon as we got him the glasses, he could catch the fly balls. One of the other events that Stephen had mentioned about what Phillip, he almost got blamed for, they didn't like to get blamed when one of the other got hurt, because I guess they thought we were going to punish him. And one day they were out front and they were playing with a golf club. And I don't know, I wasn't outside. We were in the bedroom actually. I don't know, cleaning up, whatever we're doing. The next thing I know, Phil's coming in, little Phil, Stephen described it, and he's trembling. I mean, he's shaking, and he's white as a sheet. Now, he wasn't that tan to begin with, but he was white as a sheet. And all he said, I said, "What's the matter?" He says, "It was accident, Daddy. It was an accident." I said, "Okay, what was an accident?" "It was an accident, Daddy." He needed to establish the fact that whatever, he wasn't going to get blamed. While Stephen, his brother, who he had hit in the forehead, was bleeding to death out front. So we made it to the hospital. Obviously, Stephen's okay, but he says that he's showing his little mark. He's still got the little scar. But Phil didn't be in trouble. The one thing I remember, there's so many memories that I have, that Phil would come out to the garage when I was working on a car or whatever, and I'd be changing oil or changing plugs or whatever, back in the day when you could do that kind of stuff. And he'd come out there and he'd say, "What are you doing, Daddy?" And I'd tell him, he said, "How do you do that? How do you do this?" So he repeatedly come out there and he wanted to know. Stephen never could care less. With the car running, that's all that mattered. Honest to gosh, it was sports. He came outside the heart. Let's play some ping pong, shoot some hoops. But to come out here voluntarily and say, "What are you doing?" Because I'd go out in my garage and he'd rearrange it and fix it and flush it up. And up until this past week, he was doing those same things for me. Who knew later in life, and then his Uncle Jerry, he would watch him when he would build stuff and all. And he had a fascination. And then he ended up being a partner with us in our business. His mom said he was our fix-it man. And if he got in trouble and didn't know, he called his Uncle Jerry. Very showing. One day as a family, we had gone to watch Robert, his brother, play at North Met. He was playing like a league ball or something. Playing basketball. Some championship. Okay. I forgot what it was. But we were up in the top of the bleachers, and something happened, and we made some comment, and a family below us didn't like the comment. Apparently they thought we was hard to umpire, and anyway, there was almost a skirmish. And Phil's holding Ethan. Little guy was holding him. And we get kicked out of the gym. Our whole family. Poor Robert said, "Oh, wait a minute, that's my family. Where are they going?" Well, as we get near the bottom of the bleachers, those steep bleachers over at North Met, Phil either missed a step, I don't know what happened, but he fell and got his foot caught and fell down across those bleachers. But what he made sure of was his little nephew never touched the floor, never touched the bleachers. He took the full impact, walked on it, get out of the gym, to the car. Time we got home, his ankle was that big, it broke his ankle. But walked on it and made sure he'd taken care of it. That was Phil. So the other favorite memories that I had is that Phil would ride anything. He was our go-to guy. Steve and I, when we'd go to Carowinds, we'd get the season pass. If it went round, we didn't ride it. I mean, some of you may remember the old meteor ride. And you get that little oak, and that thing, and then spin, and then the oak and bucket. Somebody had to be old enough to remember the oak and bucket. But it plastered in the wall. Apparently the floor drops out, and it was spinning, and you were pressing tried to go look over the edge and got sick. So Steve and I had to go over and sit down somewhere. Phil rode it. He rode it because his mama liked to ride it. But then we hit the roller coasters. Mom not so much on some of those rides. I like to ride them. Who was sitting beside me? Phil. He and I went to Vegas, met in Vegas. I was on a trip, and he'd never been on a plane. I had a flyer mile for Duke, and they told me I could either stay over in Seattle for the weekend or stay over in Vegas. Well, that's not much of a choice. So I stayed in Vegas. I called Phil, I said I got a frequent flyer, and he got on it and had to fly through who knows where, Pittsburgh and several places, come to Vegas, and we wanted to go ride the roller coaster that was on top of the stratosphere, which is 1,000 foot up. And so at midnight, people told us you got to do it at midnight. We went up. Phil rode it. I mean, and then they had the big shot, and you get in it and put you in a little car seat. It's like sort of the drop zone, but it shoots you 160 more feet after 1,000 feet in the air. Phil, no fear. Years later, he said, Dad, you're going back to Vegas with me? And Daniel and them know he rode the new stuff they put up there that would be a cart that would go out over the edge, and then the cart would come running down and stop suddenly. I don't know how many, 20 feet, 10 feet, whatever you were out over the edge, plus that. No fear. The swings, I hate the swings. I was around. We couldn't do that. I got sick. Where the arm goes out over the edge from the stratosphere, rode it. Loved it. Loved it. So whenever I bought season pass for Carowinds, the one individual that absolutely was worth the money was Phil, because he rode everything it had. And with anybody that wanted to ride. One of the funny points was down we were at Space Mountain, Disney World. And yeah, some of you have been to that, Space Mountain. We're in line, and Phil, as Stephen said, was just a little guy. He wasn't tall enough to get on that ride. But he wanted to go. And so there was a person in front of us, had a little girl about Philip's height, and they pulled them to the side to measure him. And I scooted us by. Slipped him by, and they never measured us. So we went the full line, got up, and was getting ready to get on the cart. And the girl goes, is he tall enough? I said, the lady back there is measuring didn't stop us. So back in the day, they had a strap, not the old bar system they have now. And they took me, and then Phillip sat sort of right in front of me on the little old board and the strap across us. And Stephen and his mom were in the back behind us. It's actually before Rob came along. And the thing takes off, we go up the hill, and you start, boom, boom. And Phillip slides down. I catch him with my knees, and I'm grabbing him with my hands and clinging. He's not screaming, he's not saying anything. But from the back, the cart behind us, I can hear Stephen going, okay, I'm ready to get off. Tell him to shut down. Phil had absolutely no fear. He'd have got back on. I told his mom that didn't go over well. Exactly, she wasn't happy I got him on to start with. The other thing about Phil that many of you will know, he loved food. And he ate anything. Sushi. I said, you gotta cook it. He goes down to his brother's. And the other night, the last time we were there, and Stephen made steak that's rare, medium rare, and just bloody looking, like my grandfather used to do. Phillip said, on the way home, he said, that was one of the most awesome things I've tasted in a long time. Because of the spot, he said, I could actually taste it. I know we're past time. She, my wife's got the phone. People, I see that. I'm sorry. I got 1,000 more, but I'm not going to do that. The problem with him and his choices of food is he would eat anything, and his mama was very selective. She says, is it American food? And so they would say, let's go eat lunch, dinner, whatever from the house. And I'd say, you two get together, decide where we're going, then we'll get in the car. you get in that car and he said, where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Every time. My mom and dad loved him. You know, early on he moved into first place as the favorite among all the boys. Rob was little, but Stephen would readily admit that Phillip was Mama's favorite. Why? Because any project she had, he was interested in. He would do it. He would try anything she'd fix, even if he didn't necessarily like it. Well, he was the favorite until, Jennifer came along, and then it was over. Mom always wanted a little girl, and all she kept getting was boys. So none of us actually ranked at that point. So she got over the girl. There's so many stories. The coffee maker, the cook. I brought samples. I hate coffee. I hate coffee with a passion. I can't stand it. It tastes terrible. Phil loved it. He'd come to my Keurig machine, and I used it just for the hot water to get my tea. And I would run it, because I just punch the button, the water run out, and go, it tastes like coffee. Flip it up. He never took the Keurig. Actually, I had a couple at my house this week so far that didn't take it out, and I just about did that this week. We argued over, I look at the weather app. He and I would say, what is the weather? I said, that's not what my app says. He goes, that's what my app says. And then we had this argument, whose app was better. He was my riding buddy. Anywhere I'd say, I want to go to Lowe's, I need to run here, I need to go here. Phil, you do anything? Jerry didn't want to do anything. He'd say, sure. And off we'd go. I'm going to miss that. And finally, when we would hold church, you could not. We had a larger congregation at the time. Smaller now, but his mom, you could not let them sit together. Oh my gosh. They would get to laughing over whatever, mainly me, because I had mispronounced something. I didn't say the grammar right. Whatever. And they would get tickled, and those two would just start laughing. And you know how hard it is. You've got a group of people. Sometimes we'd actually have about 65 or so. And they would be over cackling. I said, man, y'all can't do that. It won't separate you two. Like two little children out there. But no, we're going to miss that. Phil had that sense of humor. Some of us dry-witted, but he had a tremendous sense of humor. And so that's my son that I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss him beyond measure. And there's always going to be an empty spot in my heart. So I love you, son. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for all the friends and family that's gathered. We know that we ran over some, but wow, how often you get to celebrate in somebody's life that was someone that so many people liked. And it's so good to see that, and so many people have shown up. As we now, though, move into